Okay, after that win against such a player, 2-3, 9-3, I think I'm encouraged today. It's okay. I am 2085, a bit low rating on the auto pairing, but still I am. Let's try and crush him. Open Sicilian. Victor Rosa, Tau style. Without losing the G pawn, maybe. Can I actually open lines against the king in this game without losing all my pawns? That's the key question. Also, this bishop f6 idea. Has knight b3 got any venom for bishop f6? Do they just ignore it here? Bishop f6? Yes, just ignores it. I keep the option of bishop f6, queen d6. But now I'm wondering, I don't know, taking, I suppose g takes. I think Botvinnik used to play that stuff with g takes. I think against Bronstein, I seem to vaguely remember it was really solid actually. So I'm not going to bother taking on f6. I'm just going to retreat in g5. Okay, so I'll retreat in g5. Maybe actually maybe bishop takes b5, takes knight b5, knight d6. 3 pawns for the bishop could be good. 3 pawns for the bishop. So I'd play it here, would I? 3 pawns to the bishop, tempting. 1, 2, no queen c2, queen moves, knight d6. I lose c2 at the end of that, can't do that. So how about g5? g5 and h4, bishop h3. Ah, there's no knight c4 torture. Okay. So bishop h3, h5, g6. I remember a lot of Adams games with e6 being a target in this. So bishop h3 could be a key move. Knight e2 to c1. There's no rampant a5 attack. The rook's moved to c8, so a5 a4 is not such a rampant idea. I hope. If I play knight c1, do I need to play knight c1? Play knight d4 actually, just to get on to b5. Play bishop b5 check. Or actually, knight d4, bishop b5 check. I'll go for that. There's knight f5 without bishop f5. So bishop b5 actually. What do you do to bishop b5? Is that annoying? Knight d7 retreats. Maybe g6. Trying to get to the king or crumble e6 here. The king's still in the centre. So g6. To play e5 and I lose that bishop. So I play queen e2 to keep the bishop for knight f5. Queen e2. Okay, queen e2. Take time out for queen. I'm not losing the g pawn just yet. So I want to play g6 and lose it on my own terms. So weaken e6, and then actually knight e6 will be effective as a pin on the knight on b6. So g6 now. Does that actually work? g6, e5, then I'd have to take on a6. He takes on d4. I'm losing a piece. If I just take in and play for g6, surely that's good for g6 here. His rooks are not connected. Don't want to keep the queens on. Just play for g6. Any good? Oh, I'll go for it. I'll go for it. Queen's off. Play for g6. Hoping my pieces are a bit more active. The rooks, they're not really okay. His rooks are a bit disconnected. e6, I'm hoping is crumbling a bit here. His rook on c8 is loose. So okay, so if I just take on f7, he just takes. Bishop f2, just encourage rook exchange for a sec. Just threaten rook h8. He plays king there and he's going to protect e6 here. Is it all over for the danger? Looks to be out of danger. What about f4, f5, just trying to just gain space? I think f4, f5. Let's consolidate space advantage. Mind you, knight c5. Okay, so f5 here. I have lost a pawn, yep. It's not looking convincing. Knight c3 to d5, it's not convincing. Oh there. Oh, I don't like it, but queen's gone. There's no attack. Play rook d5 is almost like king f6 coming up. It's bishop h4. Bishop. Oh dear. Made a mess of this. Made a real mess of this game. It's a knight d6, bishop d6. If I just take and then c3, c4 here. Down on the clock as well. By a whole minute. I'll keep the king out of f6 for a moment. So king a2 and c3. Plays knight f6. This one plays c3. Try and get a5. Okay, I'm forking 2 pawns. Maybe I'm back in the game. Forking 2 pawns. That's a5 pawns better than nothing. Knight c4, b4. Get the king back. Might be knight e5 is useful. Knight d6. Hold that at bay. So bishop e3. Okay, knight d6 wins e4. Okay, so I can take this and hope for the best. Get the king over here. Bishop on the other one. Play for b4. So bishop c7 and b4. Oh, this. Hang on, let's just take that. Free knight. 30 seconds. He's still got pressure. Although g5 loses a pawn. Stop g5. Get my king over. 28 seconds. b4, b3 is possible. Not losing these pawns yet, am I? 23 seconds. Okay, so bishop e3, king d2. Just munch this d pawn. 20 seconds. I'll just hold on to that c5. Sucks win. "14 seconds. That's pre-move time. How good is my technique? think I'll get the king over. Okay, the encoder is a bit slow though. Oh, he's resigned. Oh, that was just terrible. That was really actually kind of depressing, because I'm not getting the attacks that is hyped up to get this system. As you can see from this game example, what did I get? It was nothing actually. So somehow, again, I'm tempted for a poxy move like bishop b5 check, which actually leaves a liability, which ends up me getting the queens off because of this threat now of e5. So I can't play g6 because I'm worried about e5. In which case, after knight f5, I'm losing the b5 bishop. So here, in my wisdom, I take on a6, but I did have a chance to keep the queens on here with the attack. So a move like queen g2, the queen's ideally on the a file now for a4. So his attack seems to be quite quick, but without that rook, he peels open the a file and gets the rook a8. I gets king c2. He needs the other rook on the c file. So again, actually, g file versus a file attack here. G file might actually be quite dangerous, especially with this knight e6 lurking. So what did I do? I exchanged off queens and I just get weak pawns in the ending instead after g6. He just plays this move. I don't know what the point of that was. After this, I've got potentially weak pawns. I've got nothing here. Look at this position. 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Equal on pawns. Just rook, knight, bishop each. I think there's nothing to write home about here because e6 is adequately defended by the king. And in fact, he can just, now he's protecting e6, he can just munch a pawn, even though it's double pawns. And he's got the centre pawns now because he uses his double pawn to win one of my kind of more central pawns. So he's got a rolling pawn centre now in a simplified position. By some miracle, he lets me to have this fork of 2 pawns, which may have annoyed him, losing a5. Then he proceeds to blunder e4 now with knight g4. So he blunders e4, then he blunders an entire knight. So I'm back in the game. Comments or questions on YouTube? Yeah, and if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the KingsCrusher channel to be notified of any new videos. It's free. Thanks very much.